When somebody gives you a problem, how do you work on it? I mean, how do you do mathematics?
So that happens pretty often, actually. I just got a nice problem from Don Knuth. It looks tough, actually. And sometimes you'd like to know the history. What partial results are available? What have people tried? And sometimes that's not a good idea, because once you see what people are trying and how they approach the problem, there's a tendency for you to fall in the same lines of thought. And if you did, well, that evidently didn't work. So I think it's a problem with composers. How do you compose a brand new melody given that you know all the melodies that you've heard all your life? So often you try to put the problem in your own domain. This is a problem about certain structures, but if there's a numerical aspect, I can have numbers. And I like to get data. I like to say, look, the data will kind of suggest what might be true, what might not be true. Sometimes it'll fool you. Often you talk to people and they have different ideas. You try to understand, but often you don't really understand until you convert it in your own language. And then you have to have a time where you just sit down and think about it. And I think it's very common in mathematics for someone to think very hard for a problem, about a problem for many days, weeks, go to sleep, and then you wake up and say, wow, I think I see what to do. Now, sometimes that doesn't work at all, but sometimes it's amazing. It works. That actually, why didn't I see that before? And so it's kind of an interplay. You got to think about it, focus, but then you bounce ideas back and forth with people. And, I know some people who are very strong at particular things, like Richard Stong. He's amazing guy, right? So,
How do you balance needing to go in a corner and think and talking to other people to get ideas?
I mean, people with the internet now, people are constantly bombarding you with, what about this problem, this, and they're all kind of listservs that list big collections of problems, and you could decide, oh, that's something kind of interesting, or I think I know about it, or I think it's already known. And can you find it in the literature? Well, that's another thing that the internet makes a little bit easier, but still, not completely easy. And you have to, I think you tend to tackle problems that are attractive to you, that are kind of aesthetic, that are nice, and then maybe you think you can do, you see? I mean, again, there are problems that are completely outside your area, or you're just not interested, and you're probably not going to do very well in those problems. And a lot of problems are the same problem in different guise, different language. You say, this looks like a problem about matrices. Well, really, it's a problem about graphs. Well, actually, it's a problem about sequences of numbers. Well, okay, so you move it into whatever domain you feel comfortable. You have some tools. And often there's kind of a difference. People who use the big machines, the tools, and there's a lot of tools, and people who just want to go out in the desert, and I'm going to build my own tools, because no tool will do the job for the problem I'm trying to solve. And once you build a new tool, like Andrew Wiles had to build some new tools, and once you have the new tools, you can then solve more problems. And Hilbert wrote a little essay on the role of problems in mathematics. He said, as soon as your branch runs out of problems, well, that's the beginning of the end. And the role of problems is to force you to create new tools, to test the temper of your steel, to solve these problems. And once you have these tools, now you can attack harder problems, the next level. And and that's happened for Andrew Wiles, yeah. So it's kind of an interplay. It depends on your mood. And usually you're working on 2 or 3 problems at once. You get stuck on one problem, you go into another one. Or all the problems, well, I'll work on some juggling pattern that I didn't quite get yet. There's a nice story. At many meetings, there's a problem session. And typically the organizer likes to call on someone who has kind of a typical good problem, not the speaker who needed 20 more minutes to finish his talk. And so once Erdős was in the front row, kind of his head was down a little bit, and John Selfridge, who often was the kind of narrator at the problems, whispered in a kind of loud voice, "Paul, do you have a problem?" And Paul said, no, I'll be okay in a minute. So